All right, travelers, if you're seeing my face, you are in the right place. My name is James Van Fleet. I am your travel meteorologist, and I am the former Royal Caribbean Chief Meteorologist as well as a broadcast television meteorologist, combined close to about 32, 33 years. But this channel's new. I just started it literally about a week ago, and the whole idea of this is that it is completely focused on travel weather conditions. So whenever you are traveling, or if you just want to check in on weather conditions and have family traveling, maybe on a ship or going through the airports and on planes, that we can give you an idea as to what the problem spots will be. But at the same time, I think this channel will really shine is your engagement and involvement by asking anything you're worried about. And you can get very granular, very individual flights or routes or cruise ports or the whole week of a cruise ship. Anything you'd like to know about in the comment section, if you just ask the question, that's where I really think we'll dive in and get you a more detailed forecast specifically just for you and your concerns. But by doing that on this channel, I think we're going to be able to offer some insights and hopefully confidence in forecasts and plans that really doesn't exist out there today in the world. So, of course, those of you tuning in and want to know about the Noreaster and the ships going in and out of New York in the weekend forecast, we are going to spend most of our time on that, but there's a couple things obviously I want to get to first. So let's hit that travel weather forecast for Friday, October 10th, 2025, and we're going to start with a look at the Caribbean ports, and then we're going to talk about flights, and then we'll hit the Mediterranean in a moment. But the Bahamas continue to have those on and off storms. We've had this every day this week. It is not, of course, if you're jumping on a ship Friday and for the weekend rather than about to get off one, we've had these on and off storms all week long in the Bahamas. It's not a washout, but there are off and on several rounds that come throughout the entire day. Seasonal temperatures, San Juan, a little hotter though, close to 90 degrees for a high, and also seas just a little bit higher tomorrow, around 4 to 6 feet or 1.2 to 1.8 meters. That is not a problem for getting ships in and out of the harbor and onto the pier and the ports there at San Juan, but we will find, again, just a little bit higher seas outside the port. For Grand Cayman, about 88 for a high temperature, and that's some of the lower seas that we'll see around the Caribbean at only 2 to 4 feet. Falmouth and Ocho Rios, even lower than that, around 1 to 3 feet with highs around 90 degrees, and yes, passing showers and storms in the forecast. As we head out and look to the west, Costa Maya and Cozumel and Roatan all have mainly isolated shower storm chances, temperatures close to 90. Winds will be those typical easterly trade winds from the east or southeast, and seas pretty manageable. The one heads up I would give in the Caribbean would be Barbados tomorrow. 5 to 8 foot seas. This is up to about 2.5 meters. That is not high enough for, I think, ships to wave off. They can get into the port and still tie up, but that is going to be a little bit choppier than other places, and same for much of the east and the south. So your St. Kitts and your St. Thomas, we're looking about 4 to 7 feet, up to about 2 meters, and same for Aruba, where we'll have some isolated showers, but still about a 30% coverage. All right, airports for tomorrow. If you're connecting through the hubs, looking really good in Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, and Dallas, as well as Denver and Kansas City. Houston and LA, we might have a little bit of patchy fog, but visibility doesn't look like it's below a mile or half a mile or anything like that. So it might be just something you see off on the horizon. Similar for New Orleans, as we've seen the last few days this week in Texas and Louisiana, some patchy fog out there. Some on and off storms continuing in Miami, but we'll look for that to actually come down quite a bit this weekend. And having said that, Phoenix, just really hot, close to 100 degrees. San Francisco, some low clouds and patchy fog will be possible. And if you recall, yesterday, Wednesday, we did have some low ceilings causing delays in flight departures in that area. A little higher rain coverage than we've had the last couple of days for Seattle tomorrow at around 50% coverage. And then I just want to show you the Mediterranean. Now, for those of you who are actually over there, hopefully you're also following along on my X channel. That's at James Van Fleet. I'm actually sending out these forecasts about 8 o'clock your time in the Mediterranean. So as you're in your evening plans and hopefully either wrapping up dinner or about to head to a show, you can get a quick look at this. But really lovely weather in Catania, around Barcelona, Athens. Civitavecchia, if you're not familiar with that and curious, first you say it, Civitavecchia, but that is the port for Rome. It is to the northwest of Rome by about 45 minutes or so. But since Rome is landlocked, similar to Orlando and Port Canaveral, if you want to think about it that way. Over in the east in Dubrovnik, in the Adriatic, 30% coverage of showers, but lovely temperatures at around 68 Fahrenheit or 20 Celsius. Spezia, low 70s or low 20s, and in Lisbon, really comfortable, mid 20 Celsius or 75 Fahrenheit, and just slightly elevated seas around Lisbon tomorrow. But again, this is not concerning enough that ships would be unable to port or dock as they get up under the bridge and into the port area of Lisbon. Malaga, Marseille, Mykonos, lovely temperatures, but I do want you to note that Marseille and Mykonos, we do have some elevated seas at 3 to 6 feet. And in the areas where you might have a tender, that could be problematic. It's not for ships that could dock at a pier, but if we are running tenders tomorrow in these places, well, that could be problematic as the smaller tenders, up to 2 meters or so, it can be a little rough and you might get waved off as a result. Palma, lovely, mid 20 Celsius for high temperature with gentle easterly breezes. And Venice, really nice, 68 I think would be just a lovely high with nice clear conditions, or 20 Celsius for you. So with that said, shall we start talking more about what we're looking at in the next few days as far as tropical conditions, and also as far as what this looks like for ships turning? We'll head to the northeast in a moment. I want to start, though, with a quick look at what we're tracking in the way of Raymond. And you might be scratching your head saying, I'm not familiar with that one. Well, it's not on the Atlantic or Caribbean side. This one is the new Pacific storm that is slated to be passing over Cabo San Lucas on Saturday the 18th. This is not going to be as big as a hurricane as what we saw with Priscilla or even Octave, but this still has a chance that it's a Cat 1 hurricane as it's coming into Cabo on Saturday, and that is a tender port. So you anchor right in the middle of the bay there, and then the tenders take you into the marina, and then you make your way around Cabo. But Quantum of the Seas is slated to be there on the 18th, so do not be surprised if you get waved off of that and it ends up being a sea day. So just want to give you the heads up and make you aware of what we're looking at there. And then over on the Jerry side of things here, no surprises in our forecast. Nothing's changed since we were last talking yesterday as far as that storm is concerned. So now on to the northeast, and what does this look like for us as we are trying to get ships in and out of New York Harbor? Well, the ones that will be there on Sunday and Monday, it will be choppy. It'll be a little rough, but I don't think that we are seeing seas so high that ships can't get in and out. However, there are still some other issues that could be presented. So I want to dive into those details very quickly. You can see here's the European model, and there's our storm right here. It is forming east of Florida and Georgia, South Carolina coastlines here over the next couple days. And then where it really starts to flex will be up here just east of the Delmarva Peninsula. And while, again, this is a nor'easter, that might have you scratching your head too, because a lot of folks who are not from the Northeast associate nor'easter with bad winter weather. And that does not always have to be the case. It's more about the wind direction, nor'easter, northeast, than it is other parameters. But yes, this one will not have any wintry precipitation. So for me, it'll be about the rain and storms that come with it, and more so the wind that will be hitting Jersey coastlines, Delaware, Maryland coastlines, and of course around New York, Long Island, and then up into New York Harbor. Some of the peak winds that we're looking at around 56 miles per hour. If you've been watching the last couple of days, you've heard me say that I won't be surprised if we do see wind gusts in the 60s, but I do think we're looking at sustained winds in the 40s and 50s here, not only on Sunday, where we have Symphony of the Seas in over in Bayonne, but also as we go through portions of Monday. And that looks to be, I believe we have Mein Schiff 1 up there. MSC's Meraviglia will be in the area. I think American Cruise Lines, American Glory also slated for the 13th. So having said that, again, I think outside the Verrazano Bridge, it's choppy, super windy. Don't be surprised if they close top decks due to the wind and just unpleasant and maybe even unsafe conditions, because as you go up in the decks on the ship, the wind is actually higher, typically about 10 to 15 miles per hour higher than they are down at the surface. So if it's 50 mile or 55 mile an hour at the surface, you're looking at over 60 mile an hour sustained winds up on those top decks of the larger ships. So at the very least, I think ships will be making some adjustments to prepare for safety, and that may impact some of the plans and things you want to do on the ship. So that's first heads up. Secondly, what is a little interesting to me about these winds, because they'll be northeast, I want to take you into Bayonne, for example, here and show you one thing that I would keep an eye on when I was the chief med at Royal Caribbean. So right here is Bayonne, and this is going to be right where the cruise ships will dock. See the Statue of Liberty here. Manhattan is just up on the way, and of course Brooklyn on the other side. But the pier sits at around a northwest to southeast angle. So a northeast wind coming down, if it's strong enough, it could actually pin the ship to the pier, meaning they can't get off of the pier. And so when we're in situations like that, two things will happen. Tugboats, first and foremost, come in. I know they'll be calling for them. Symphony of the Seas captain and crew will have them ready and on standby. And hopefully that's the answer and the solution to get you pulled off of the pier and then on your way. But at times, if it's too high of a wind and pinning you, even the tugboats can't pull you off safely without breaking ropes and what have you. So there could be a delayed departure. But I think we're likely with these kind of wind speeds looking more at tugboats in the mix. But I just want to make you aware, depending on how strong they are for departure time, that is a possibility I could see playing out for Symphony of the Seas, as well as the fact that these winds, at least in the European model, still going. So pretty strong on Monday, too. There's Monday afternoon. You can see all along Long Island and Jersey coastlines, we're still at around 53, 54 mile an hour winds up on the coast. So the Monday ships in New York Harbor also could be impacted for similar reasons. I think at the very least tugboats, but could the wind actually hold us on the pier? Depends on which side you're docked on in the New York Harbor and which pier. But just all things to think about and consider that are on my mind in the days ahead. So after that storm passes, for the next several days up to a week, once that one has moved on, as far as the tropics go, I'm not seeing any significant waves that look to develop. But into the following week and weekend, there are more cold fronts coming off of the U.S. East Coast. So while they wouldn't be nor'easters, there could be some weather to contend with in the next 10 to 15 days up in the Northeast for us. So having said that, just want to at least bring that to your attention, that is a possibility going into the long range forecast. But of course, we'll get to that at another time. So with the main concern really being that nor'easter in the days ahead, I'll be closely watching you. We'll have another video tomorrow evening, or if you're perhaps watching this the next morning, no problem there. I'll be updating on X regular updates. Again, that handle is at James Van Fleet. And then I'll post shorts and briefings here on YouTube. But all of my X posts, I'll link back to YouTube should you want to watch the full briefing. So that's a look at what we're thinking in the days ahead. I hope you are, if you're about to get on a ship or a plane, I hope you're ready to go, packed up and excited. And in the meantime, I'll see you in about 24 hours. Have a wonderful evening and a great Friday.